Which transfer quarterback makes the most sense for the Auburn Tigers?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every Friday, Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us. And we're going to rank the positions of need that Auburn needs to find in the transfer portal. That's coming up. But let's talk quarterback first here, Darrell Dapprich. While it does seem like some Auburn fans are still high on Payton Thorne, which is totally justified. I totally get where they're coming from because I think the roster around him is going to get better. There are plenty of names that I still think makes the room better and gives you a competition going into spring. And Darrell, let's just kind of run through them real quick. Riley Leonard is a big one. Cam Ward is a big one. Grayson McCall, MJ Morris, KJ Jefferson, DJ Uiagalelei. I mean, so many different names. Big quarterback names are going to be available, and it's going to be another crazy transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, it opened up quickly. And the interesting part about that list, Zach, is that we know for a fact after last year that some names leaked that Auburn was looking at that have now resurfaced. I believe the Riley Leonard situation has been ongoing for as far as a rumor for over a year because of the situation with his girlfriend and being a Fairhope kid. We know about Grayson McCall last year. I feel like, you know, the MJ Morris thing last year, we heard smoke, right? And so at the end of the day, it's such an advantage that Auburn maybe would get somebody that can come in before the spring. So all those, out of those names, to be perfectly honest with you, I had a name that excited me the most, and I've changed on that.
Well, the name that excited me the most was Riley Leonard, but now it appears that that's not going to happen. It seems like all signs are pointing to Notre Dame. He entered the portal and all the crystal balls came in very quickly, all pointing to Notre Dame. So clearly there's something going on there. Outside of that, I think there's a big drop off, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, Darrell. So what name of these excites you the most?
Cam Ward.
How come?
The kid, you know, played an incarnate word. And so you kind of take that with a grain of salt and say, okay, you know, that's a really lower level football. I don't care how electric. I mean, he's got the measurables, the size, the speed, the arm strength, but he did have 2 successful years at Washington State. Now, You can say, well, that's a Pac-12 defense. Same defenses that Bo Nix and Caleb Williams are playing against. So if you're going to put them on a pedestal and glorify both of them as a Heisman winner and a Heisman candidate, they're facing the same defenses that Cam Ward faced, and Cam Ward had multiple success. Not only that, he beat out a kid named Jaden DeLoria at Washington State, who was a 2-year starter, who ended up leaving and going to Arizona and having a great 2 years before he got unseated because of an injury. So my point is, if he can beat out DeLoria, and he did so well at another Pac-12 school, I think the kid is legit. Does that translate to a SEC defense? I don't know. Did it for Bo Nix? I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, I know, you know, Bo Nix had a lot more success leaving and going to play Pac-12 defenses. So did Caleb Williams. So I think you got to take that with a grain of salt. What I like about him most is the dynamic of being able to run too. And he's big and he's strong. And again, I think that whole dual threat type thing, or the ability, not in a prototypical way, but if the play breaks down, I really like him. I really like his physical attributes.
That's so interesting because I was about to say, of all the names that we've mentioned, he's probably the least mobile. So that's interesting that we're seeing different things when we look up stuff on Cam Ward. But I think
he's not mobile by design. He's mobile by necessity. And I think there's a difference there.
Well, that's what Payton Thorne was at Michigan State, right? And we saw what he was able to do with his legs. A shockingly good runner down the stretch there. So we'll see. Another one that a lot of Auburn fans are talking about, KJ Jefferson, the Arkansas quarterback. I don't think the fit makes a ton of sense, Darrell, but it is an intriguing thought if you really want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I just don't. You know, this is about fit and making the most sense, and it just doesn't.
I'm with you.
He seems statue. And I mean, again, if Ward seems to have some more elusivity in the pocket, it can be a little more elusive. But yeah, Jefferson just doesn't seem like a good fit, and I really can't put my finger on why.
I'm with you.
But in Freeze's system,
I'm with you. KJ Jefferson's not the lowest on the list of quarterbacks for me, but yeah, I'm not sold he beats out Payton Thorne this spring. And that's kind of the question is like, okay, I think Riley Leonard beats out Payton Thorne. I think Cam Ward beats out Payton Thorne. I think after that, like, I'm not sold Grayson McCall beats out of Payton Thorne this spring, Darrell. Who would you take in that battle?
You gotta, present that question in a way of the Payton Thorne of in the current situation. I would take Grayson McCall currently. What Payton Thorne could be with another spring under his belt and weapons, right, i.e. good receivers, yes, then that changes that dynamic, and then Thorne is probably the dude. So in the here and now, the current version of Payton Thorne, I'd take Grayson McCall. What Payton Thorne can become 6 months from now, like I said, going through a spring and having some receivers, then because we saw that snapshot of that at Michigan State. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that's the question. Probably only 2 of those mentioned would beat out Payton Thorne. The current version, maybe 4. But what we're projecting him to be, that's what makes it interesting. I'd take McCall right now. I would revisit this come April if Auburn signs that wide receiver class they're talking about signing and gets one more stud in the portal as a receiver. So
I'm there with you. I'm there with you. And I think any of these quarterbacks makes the room better. I love the idea that the floor of your quarterback room is any of these guys. I think that's really, really exciting, especially because you saw how this staff handled the quarterback position through the first, for the majority of the season, Darrell. I think it was a head scratcher. We got to assume that's not going to happen in year 2. I hope not. We'll see. We will certainly see. But I think all of these make the quarterback room better. I think it's best for Auburn if Payton Thorne is pushed this spring and then maybe even over the summer and into early fall. However, I do think if it's close, they've got to make some decisions regarding NIL and all of that. And I think that decision will take care of itself over the course of the summer. We'll see. We'll see on that. But there are talented quarterbacks out there. And the portal hasn't even officially opened yet. It'll open on Monday, and you're going to see even more names.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, too. Auburn is not in a situation or does not have the luxury to bring in a quarterback that's not substantially an upgrade over Payton Thorne. Because of the numbers in the quarterback room, you can't bring somebody in that's just going to compete for the job and then end up being the backup. You don't have the numbers. Even if Gerner leaves, you don't have the numbers with Walker White coming in. So the only way you add to that room, in my opinion, not for depth, I know you talk about pushing Payton Thorne. I wouldn't even add a quarterback just to push him. The only way I add a quarterback is if he's substantially better than Thorne, difference maker, game changer, NFL prospect. That's it. Otherwise, that room's too crowded. You don't have the luxury of swinging and missing in the quarterback room now.
Yeah, and I've seen some folks say that there's a chance that they add 2 quarterbacks in the portal and all that. And I'm not saying it's impossible that happens, Darrell, but I'm with you. I don't think Hugh Freeze wants to use more than 4 scholarships on quarterback. It's not an ideal situation. And I think the timing is really unfortunate for Robbie Ashford that he can't go play somewhere else if he's not happy here because he doesn't graduate until midsummer. It seems to be kind of the consensus here. And that's not a great situation for him to graduate and then go to a new place and have just a few weeks to kind of get acclimated and potentially compete for a job. That doesn't help him out. So I don't know how you handle that situation if you're Hugh Freeze. I do think you throw 1 out there. I do think you throw a scholarship out there and go to 5. If, like you said, there's a guy that you feel confident in being better than Payton Thorne. But right now, I'm not sold that a lot of these guys are better than Payton Thorne. So we will see. There's no question Auburn's going to have a chance to make this roster better from top to bottom, Darrell. And so we're going to rank our 5 position groups outside of quarterback that Auburn has to attack in the portal to get better for 2024. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the offers on FanDuel are heating up. Right now, new customers can get $150 back in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. This is a big brain move on my part. You can put $5 on one team and then $5 on the other team. You're guaranteed to win $150. That's all I got to do. That's all I got to do. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. They've got spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off your sports winning. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Auburn Aesthetic. Guys, it's Christmas time. I'm going to help you out here. The easiest gift you could get the special woman in your life, just go to auburnmetaesthetics.com, get her a gift card. You also can go check out their physical location. It's across the street from Chappie's on East Glen Avenue. But go to auburnmetaesthetics.com, get her a gift card. There's so many different services that they offer, ranging from Botox, facials, laser treatments, just to feel relaxed. They've got you covered. And they're also going to love meeting with Dr. Nancy Herring and her master esthetician, Circe Kelly. They've got a ton of experience in the med spa industry. So give them some love. Auburn Med Aesthetics, the full service med spa serving Auburn. Gift cards available at auburnmedaesthetics.com. Darrell Dapprich, our guest today. Let's rank the top 5 positions Auburn needs to attack in the portal. I think number 1 is defensive line. I think we're going to lose Marcus Harris, and I think that is a huge, huge loss. And also, Lawrence Johnson running out of eligibility, Messiah Nasili-Kite running out of eligibility. These guys weren't stars by any means, but they're key pieces of your roster that championship rosters have. These solid guys that can contribute up and down the defensive line. So I'm going to throw out defensive line. They've got to get a ton of bodies. And I don't even think it's just a quality thing. I think it's a quantity thing when it comes to the defensive line, Darrell.
Yeah, I didn't have that number 1. I had it in my top 2. And I think you can mirror what happened last year with the offensive line at Auburn. Remember what in the portal, Auburn got numbers. Now, it ended up they got some good quality too, but they got quantity and quality. Completely revamped it. Auburn's going to have to do that with the defensive line. So it was my number 2. My number 1 was receivers. And the reason why I say that is because it's twofold. Number 1, the room needs a significant upgrade, and it needs some quality numbers. That's an area that needs quality, not quantity. Okay, mm-hmm. But there's a trickle-down effect. If the receivers, and Auburn gets some receivers that are higher-level receivers, I think that elevates whoever plays quarterback's game. If it's Payton Thorne, you upgrade the quarterback position and the wide receiver position by going and getting better receivers. You upgrade 2 positions in 2 position rooms in essence. So that's why I think it's the most important. Yeah. I believe a guy that completed 63% of his passes this year in Payton Thorne could have completed 68 or 69% with better receiver play. And I'm not just talking about the drops. I'm talking about getting some separation so you can get thrown open. That matters. And so I think that's why it affects both position groups.
Especially with the way he plays. I mean, sometimes played a little scared not to make a mistake. That's going to help with your completion percentage. You may get sacked more. You may scramble more. We'll see, but I'm with you. My second position that Auburn needs to go out into the portal and get is edge/jack linebacker. You do everything you possibly can to keep McLeod on your roster. You're losing McAllister. And we'll certainly see what happens with other guys on that position. Steven Sings, I'm actually pretty intrigued with what he's going to do. But you need more. You need more pass rushers. And you love the freshmen that are coming in. You love Joseph Phillips. You love some of these guys, Jamonta Waller. You love these guys coming in. But we've seen it with Keldrick Falk, and we've seen it historically throughout the SEC. It's hard for pass rushers to just come in and make an impact in the SEC. It's really, really tough. Unless you were a special player, you're just not going to have that impact your first season. So I think Keldrick Falk's going to take a big step there, which is huge. And we'll see how they use him, if he's going to be more of a true defensive end or a jack linebacker. We'll see. but you've got to get some more older guys that are able to rush the passer, Darrell.
Yeah, it's funny. You're just like one slot ahead of me. I had the edge rushers at the 3 spot, defensive line at 2. And the reason why I had them a little bit behind defensive line in area of need is Falk and McLeod. I think if both of them come back, we know Falk will, and he's starting to emerge. If McLeod comes back with Steven Sings and some of the guys that are also coming in as freshmen, it's not a total wipeout. I mean, it's – I think let me put it this way. I think your best edge rushers are returning, right? Your 2 best edge rushers are coming back. You would need to fill the room for depth. Steven Sings could provide some of that depth, and these freshmen could provide some of these depth. But you go to the portal to get 1 or 2 more because of injuries. And because of – we saw it took a little while for McAllister and McLeod to get acclimated. McLeod coming up from a group of 5, McAllister coming up from Vanderbilt. I mean, he talked about playing in front of all the people. So, yeah, you need it. I just don't think you need it as much as defensive tackle because your 2 best edge rushers are scheduled to return, hopefully. So that was my 3. I had edge at 3.
Got it. Britton Williams, can he have any kind of impact in 2024 in your mind? He's the only other Jack linebacker on the roster right now. Yeah,
and you know why that's a big question mark is because what have we seen? At least we've seen Sings get a couple of tackles and make a couple of plays. Yeah. I mean, he could. Guys make leaps. The hardest – I totally agree with what Jake Crane said on your show yesterday is that the hardest leap besides quarterback is along the lines of scrimmage, offensive and defensive line. Yep. So year 1 to year 2 is where you see quarterbacks and line play show the most progress. So maybe he will. But I got to see it. It's like Missouri. Show me, right? We haven't seen anything to even a glimpse. So
right. So you had wide receiver, defensive line, Jack.
Edge. Yes, right.
Edge, however you want to say it. Okay. So my third one, then I went defensive line 1, edge / Jack 2. I got offensive line at 3, Darrell. And once again, I think it's more this year. It's more of a quality play, not a quantity play. You only need 1 or 2. I think you go out and you try to get a really good offensive tackle, a guy like Gunnar Britton who's ready to take that next step as a player. And there's intrigue in message boards anytime an offensive tackle enters the portal, and I don't blame them because we saw what Gunnar Britton can do, what Dylan Wade can do, and I think offensive line is probably the position where you can go to that lower level of college football and bring a guy up that's able to translate. Just because we've seen it throughout the conference now after the first few years of the portal here, and Auburn kind of got to reap the benefits of that last year. I think they're going to try to do it again. But like I said, you don't have to get a bunch of dudes. You only need 1 or 2. Let them compete with Dylan Wade. Is Dylan Wade a guard at the next level? Maybe that's something he listens to, possibly wanting to scoot in. Xavier Miller. I don't know. But the fact that all these guys are coming back, you only need 1 or 2 of these guys, I think, to really make there not be that much of a drop-off from last year to this year.
That's why I agree 100%. It's why I had it as my next position of need, because I feel like, and this isn't inside knowledge, I feel like Wade's going to come back. Miller, Connor Liu has played, and sure. I'm really high on Dylan Sedna. Am I pronouncing that right? Sedna. I think he's could be a plug and play guy. So sure. You really only have to get 2 and maybe an instant starter, like you said, at tackle. And so, again, you absolutely nailed it when you said it's one of the few positions that a group of 5 kid can make the transition pretty seamlessly. And the reason is, if you're a junior at a group of 5, you're still 6'3", 350, right? I mean, you're not coming out of high school. Yeah. Even JUCOs, after 1 or 2 years, there still needs to be a maturation and a strength and physicality growth period. Not group of 5 kids. You've got a lot of guys that play group of 5 football along the offensive lines that go to the league, and they're big. They're ready. If they're juniors and seniors, they're ready to roll. They're men. So that's why I think I would take 2. And here's the thing: you've seen Auburn allegedly already contact 2 that have been in the portal. The Southern Miss kid is a group of 5, and then Shorter College in Rome, Georgia, used to be NAIA, and I think they're Division II now.
Yeah.
So that's weird. And that was a defensive lineman, the kid from Harvard. But anyway, so those two kids have already been allegedly contacted by Auburn, and they're lower level football.
So I'm okay with it. If you've got the frame, I think you can be coached. So
one of Auburn's best centers, right? Came from FCS school. When it was the kid from Jack State or the kid from Sanford? I can't remember what it was. Pugh. Was it Ryan Pugh? No, it was one of those kids that came from a FCS school and was a plug and play.
Something to think about. It sounds like 16 is the magic number as far as what Hugh Freeze wants to spend on scholarships. So right now, when you look at it, I believe Auburn has 12. Jeremiah Wright, who I think could transfer. I think he's a transfer candidate. But then Jaden Muskrat, Tate Johnson, Dylan Wade, Xavier Miller, EJ Harrison, Connor Liu. They will be sophomores. And then Clay Whedon, Braden Joyner, Dylan Cinda, and Tyler Johnson. They'll be freshmen. I guess they'll be redshirt freshmen. And then you've got DeAndre Carter, who's a part of this class. And then we think that they're going to add another offensive lineman in this class with
I forgot about Muskrat. I totally didn't mention him as a guy like Lou.
He can start at guard next year. I would not be shocked. So
exactly.
That puts you at 13. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I think they're going to get 2.
Yeah, so that put him one shy of where he's normally at from a scholarship standpoint. And so maybe they go 3. I don't know. But I think that's worth looking at. So we both shared our top 4.
Yes. No, you didn't share your 4th.
You're right, but I'll do it in a second. Other positions Auburn has to attack in the portal we discuss in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Eddie's Calzones. They've got everything at Eddie's. It's located at 130 North College Street in downtown, across from the new Target in Auburn. There's nothing like Eddie's. They've got specialty calzones, extra crispy wings, a bunch of different types of sides. They're all delicious. And look, if you're awake, Eddie's is open. Let's just be honest. They're open until 4 a.m. It's a late night tradition in downtown Auburn. Also, they're delivering until 4 a.m. So if you're up late and nothing is open, well, Eddie's Calzones is open. So be sure to hit them up. You can call them at 334-329-5111. Keep up with their specials on Instagram at Eddie's Calzones Auburn. But yeah, we love our friends at Eddie's Calzones, wings and beer, open and delivering till 4 a.m. Darrell Dapprich, my 4th most important position that Auburn needs to tackle in the portal is defensive back. And I think this is another one where Auburn can go after quality, not quantity, because they've got a bunch of defensive backs. They're just young, especially at the corner position. Losing DJ James and Nehemiah Pritchett is huge. But you've got a guy that you feel good with Kay and Lee. I'd like another corner. I think safety is going to work itself out. I'd like a high-quality SEC starting caliber corner, and I feel way better about this room.
Yeah, that was my 5th one. It's funny. I just was right behind you in pecking order. I want another corner, a bookend corner, a senior shutdown corner to go opposite of Lee. And I do think Auburn needs another starting safety. I like Patterson that's coming in, the JUCO kid. Allegedly, he's supposed to be able to play right away with his physicality, a plug-and-play guy. Don't know about Puckett.
Robinson.
I'm sorry, Robinson,
the JUCO guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then Puckett, we don't know if he's coming back. Jalen Simpson, I guess we're assuming he's going on to the league. I want one more safety that you can plug in to start and another corner. And I think that let the other kids learn behind them. I don't know if there's any freshmen that are coming in this class like Kay and Lee did last year that are ready to play, even in a nickel type situation.
I think Jalen Crawford's really good. I think he's really, really good. But, man, I love Tyler Scott. We haven't seen much of him. Sylvester Smith was in the 2-deep at times during media windows, who's going to be a redshirt freshman this year. I think the talent is there. They just got to find the guys who are going to be ready to see the field. So that's why I've got it at 4th, because
Anthony has played some. Anthony has played some, has played well. Wooden has got on the field, shocked me how many snaps he's got. So I think you're right about the safety position working itself out. I don't know. I'm ready for a guy that just can come in and make an immediate impact and start.
Darrell, did you see what Keontae Scott tweeted yesterday?
Well, we're hearing that he's leaving, right?
He tweeted out that it was an honor and a dream come true to be invited to the Senior Bowl, but he didn't say he accepted it.
Yeah.
He didn't say he accepted it. So
that'd be a big, if he could come back and play with his punt return abilities and all that. I mean, that would be that's like going out and getting a 5-star, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, can you imagine if he would have returned one more punt this season? My fifth one is wide receiver. I think that I have it way lower than you. That's the biggest difference here.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost okay with the growing pains of starting the freshman. I'm just okay with it. I think Cam Coleman's going to be part of this class. Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons. Put them with Jay Fair and Caleb Burton. I don't hate it. I don't hate that room. Go get me one or two more outside receivers. One to be leaders.
That's the key, the outside guys. I'm very high on Burton. I really felt like he emerged from about the middle of the season on as a viable, trusting option for Thorne to throw to.
It didn't go through spring, right? So, I mean, it kind of makes sense why it took him half the season to get used to everything that's going on around him. Mm-hmm. Much like we were talking about with Payton Thorne, I think it's just a spring for these guys. It's going to be super, super valuable.
I agree. I see your point on that with the receiver room. But again, I think it's such an important position of need, and it becomes a domino effect that room makes the quarterback room better. It's the only position that's tied to another one. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you could say that an offensive line makes the running back room better, but our running backs are elite. I'm not worried about them. So I didn't mention them. So
I just think most receivers that are going to enter the portal aren't as good as Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, and Bryce Kane.
True. Polished. I mean, I get it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, because we felt really good about Auburn's transfer receiver class a year ago. We felt really good about Shane Hooks and Nick Gardner and Jair Shorter.
That's why I wanted to address the uncertainty. I don't know if 4 freshmen can come in and be polished enough to make the impact that needs to be made if you want to compete for championships. You want to get to a certain win plateau? Okay, maybe. But that's not what we're not about that. Auburn's not about that. That's why I'm feeling good about losing a game by, because you played well. I don't care. I want guys that can make an impact that Auburn's in the playoff next year.
Who's your fifth one? What position was your fifth one?
Offensive line.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought offensive line was your fourth one. Okay. Offensive line was your fifth one.
Fourth one was edge, I think. But anyway.
I had linebacker written down originally on this list, and
No, I'm sorry. Fifth was defensive backs. I apologize. Fifth was defensive backs because I countered what you said about having somebody opposite of Lee. Fifth was DBs. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, so we both left linebacker off. We both left running back off. I think that makes sense. We both left tight end off.
I left kickers off too because we have the best in the country, although he got snubbed.
Yeah.
Such a joke.
I mean, so did Carlson a few years ago, and it's like, what?
It's just a joke. I mean, Auburn has become like kicker U.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, and they put some guys in the league, and then McPherson. I mean, how do you not miss a kick and you're not even? It's just a joke.
It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? But
what's the criteria if that's not? It's not, and it's not like all of his kicks were like that kid from Georgia Southern that kicks for Atlanta, whatever his name is, that was all his kicks were inside the 30. McPherson's hit some bombs. So they don't even need to have that award if that's kind of joke that they're going to. Luke Rosa's turning over in his grave.
Dang. All right. Did you almost put linebacker here? Because I almost did.
I did.
But
that was 6.
Yeah, to me, it's all about it's if Eugene Asante stays or leaves.
Yes.
And right now, yesterday I felt like he was leaving. Today I feel better that he's staying. So nothing happened.
And right now on paper, what's the strongest position? We don't know about the receivers yet. It can be All right. But I'm talking about kids that are actually committed. What's the strongest position group in this incoming recruiting class? Linebacker.
Yeah.
So now if Cam Coleman and it commits, then that changes that, obviously. And I don't even think Ryan Williams needs to commit for that to be the strongest position group. You get the Fab Four, and I think that becomes the strongest position group as far as this upcoming recruiting class.
Yeah, and I assume Keys will still be around. I haven't heard anything about him leaving.
Yeah.
One that's interesting is Robert Woodyard. We heard a lot of good things about him this past spring. Can he turn the corner? Can he get more playing time? I don't know, but Auburn's got a lot of linebackers. Cam Riley, Wesley Steiner, Asante, Keys, Levant. I mean, all of these guys are going to be upperclassmen several years in the system. Both of them. Nixon's the only one that can't come back.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep. Larry Nixon's the only one that can't come back. So we'll see. We will see. All right, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me, Dap6410. You can catch me Monday mornings, Auburn Opelika, this morning with Ben Taylor at 7:10, and then on the line with Jacob Goins Tuesday afternoons on the Auburn Network, my friend.
Yes, absolutely. Read all of our work at auburndaily.com. Click that subscribe button, and we will see you on Monday. This has been Locked On Auburn.